liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Pipia. Here. Fry.
Present.
Schroller. Here. Hughes.
Present.
Eichmann.
Present.
Price.
Present.
Behrens.
Present.
Crum.
Present.
8-0, and we have a quorum.
Okay, first up, we've got the approval of minutes. Does anybody have any changes or additions?
Move approved minutes, regular meeting, December 28th.
Kevin.
Move to approve the regular minutes of December 28th, 2020.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
8-0.
8-0. Okay, first up on business and discussion items, we've got Marysville Chamber Main Street and their agreement.
All right, I have Marysville Chamber Main Street on Zoom right now, so if you guys want to start the conversation off, Tyson or Tony or Adam, whoever.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, council, for taking the time to go over our agreement with us. We sat down a few weeks ago before the first of the year with a group, with the mayor, Austin, and then a group of council members to kind of outline what we're wanting to do as far as our agreement. In here, we've made some changes to the agreement. The biggest change would be the hours that Kate's expected, or our executive director is expected to be staffing our office. We didn't feel that it was a good use of time or efficiencies to have Kate sitting in an office for 8 hours a day. We want her as a board, our expectations is she is to be in the office 4 hours a day to be used at her discretion, and then the other 4 to be walking up and down Main Street and meeting with businesses in order to help them achieve any results that they want or get benefit from our organization. Forgot, sorry about that. On the QR code, we would have Kate's cell phone. We provide her a cell phone that she has at her disposal that she's to answer if able in regards to the QR code as well. So that'll be posted all over that.
If I could join in, Mr. Mayor, I know I talked to Kate yesterday, and she is exploring different options for those kiosks, and you know, even the more expensive options. But we want to look at all of them and see what would be a best fit. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, it was discussed, and I know some possible locations if you would install one. So I was just kind of curious what happened with that. So. Yeah, I saw the pandemic clause was added in there that the committee asked for, which is a good thing going forward. Does council have any questions?
Tony, I got a question for you and Tyson. On the 20 hours that she's going to work in the office, is 20 hours out in the public, I mean, really that necessary? I'd just assume see her in the office 30 hours a week and maybe out 10 hours a week. I mean, 20 hours every week up and down Main Street visiting with people. That just seems like a lot of redundancy coming from somebody that, you know.
Well, I think it's we don't just cover Main Street with the chamber. We cover all the area businesses in Marysville, for one. And you're right, there could be weeks like middle of January, for instance, to where she might be in the office 30 hours a week, but there could be times where she's at conferences or so forth across our state or wherever that might not allow that 30 hours. But then there's other weeks, such as like the barbecue week, the Mother's Day market, and some of our major events, Gravel Dash. Well, the Gravel Dash is on the weekend, but some of our major events where she might be, you know, she won't work a 40-hour week that week. She might work an 80-hour week, but the majority of the time will be out of the office. So, you know, we felt that half the time, that's why we have it stated in there that is to her discretion.
Yeah, I'd just like to state that I'd like to see more discretion, you know, if possible, at the site up there instead of being out and about, you know, whenever possible. Even if she comes and goes, you know, so if someone comes there, they can catch her and leave again, so.
I think with the goal of, excuse me, stating the 20 hours in the contract was just to kind of give us that flexibility. I mean, I would certainly anticipate her being there on average more than 20 hours a week, but I think that on the weeks where we do have the barbecue and stuff like that, it's going to be probably pretty close to that 20 hours. So I think the idea was to give us that flexibility.
Yeah, and I understand also the big events that she won't be there as much, you know, because I mean, you want her downtown, you know, to what's going on at the big events, but I mean, just day in, day out through the weeks like we're having now, November, December, January, February, March, you know, so.
She will, but like we said, I mean, we're not just serving just Main Street. She's not gonna be walking up and down the streets 20 hours a week. She'll be meeting with the hospital, she'll be meeting with Landall, she'll be meeting with, you know, other area businesses, Valley Vet, so on and so forth, that aren't necessarily on Broadway.
I think especially in the summertime, it would be nice if you would try to get volunteers to be there, so somebody is in the office. I mean, I know you can't every day, that it's hard to get volunteers, but, you know, I think there's a possibility you might try it.
We haven't had a lot of luck with volunteers, especially with the pandemic, and I know it's hard to judge what's going on. That's why we've opted with the QR.
But, you know, if you could, especially in the summertime, I think it's nice to have somebody there, but, you know, that's up to you, but.
I think that's a good option too. I think we'll get a better feel for how often are people stopping in, you know, when are the busier times? Like I said, is it the summer that we need to have somebody there more often if Kate can't be there? And, you know, but, you know, she's reported recently, I mean, there's one person walks in an 8-hour day, so it's hard to require, you know, to bring in volunteers for such a little traffic. So I think we'll get a better feel for that as we go and try to make sure we can serve, you know, the visiting public too. So.
I move that we accept this agreement with the Marysville Chamber and Main Street as it is written.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 8-0. Okay. Thank you for everything you do.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
guys.
Thanks for all the support.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, city and council, mayor, Austin, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Next order of business is the ordinance number 1894.
Hey, Jason.
Next order of business is ordinance number 1894, the mask mandate. I mean, that's set to expire, and I think when we put it in place, the decision was made we would review it before it expired and see if we wanted to extend it or let it slip away. So I will say I did talk to Dr. Ryan last night. I did talk to Dr. Ryan last night. Our counts are doing a lot better. And I got a sister that's a nurse, and my understanding is the hospital, the amount of patients that they've had in the hospital with COVID has gone down considerably compared to where it was at. So we're in a lot better place than what we were then. But we still know it's out there, and still people are, you know, getting it. Dr. Ryan's recommendation was we should extend it for a while.
Did he give you any indication of how long?
I asked him if he said longer would probably be better. but I also kinda asked him if, hopefully it would be done by March or April, and he said probably June. And I'm hoping he's wrong, but probably not. I would think by April around here, enough people will have either had it or been vaccinated that we should be, in a pretty good place, I would think, around here.
The next really big where family would get together would be Easter, and that's on April 4th.
It would be, and they did both. I mean, everybody I talked to said that they are seeing a little bit of a spike after the holidays, which they knew would happen. But not as bad, at least so far, as what we had, around after Halloween. So that's kind of where we're at.
I think we kind of need to be careful. I have my daughter in Phoenix, and obviously it's a large metropolis down there. But they've had the biggest spike they've had so far. Just kind of come out of the blue with people traveling, coming in and out. So, which really kind of surprised me down there after the holiday. Yeah, but she said it was bad. It was bad. So, I think we just need to keep an eye on it. And like you guys said, after Easter, because that's going to be that last.
Before Easter, then Memorial Day. But I don't know about Marysville, but Hanover spring break is the middle of March. So that's, I know last year was a lot of people went on spring break, and yeah.
And I was gonna ask you, Cindy, today, if we would, say if we extended this till May, and then in March it was looking good, and we decided that we wanted to do away with it, do we have to advertise in the paper again after that, or do we just vote and it's done?
We'd have to do
We still have to advertise and everything.
we'd still have
in the
to
paper.
do another ordinance if you
Okay.
rescind this one.
Yeah, to repeal, you
Okay.
create another ordinance. But you decide that meeting, and then once it's published in that first paper, it's gone. So 3 days waiting period.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that long. Okay.
So in that case, would it be better to make it like 60 days from now and state it in there, and then if it's not long enough, come back and hit the ordinance again for another 60 days or 30 days instead of trying to say, hey, we're gonna lift the mask mandate?
I mean, there's two ideas of thought behind it. A prudent way would be to set it for a shorter amount of time, going, okay, we're gonna reevaluate it, to make it longer, just like we just did. Or, just like the mayor said, that you can make it a little bit longer than you think, schedule it to talk about in the middle and see where you're at, and reevaluate it from there, create another ordinance to do it. That version's a little bit more, I mean, it's a tiny bit more work, but not very much. So, I mean, it's just how you want to do it. Do you want to make sure you have a mask mandate for this amount of time, or do you want to come back and reevaluate? I mean, they're both reevaluating, but one has, I mean, it's just there. So.
Well, I got some feedback, if you would allow me to. I got some feedback from people here in town, and this is what they're saying. One person said, just keep the mandate. People are used to it. Help small business. Let's keep our numbers low and keep it out of business. Another person said, keep it till spring, extend it till springtime. One person just flat out said no. Another person said, just throw the mandate out the window. A nurse here in town, if I can find it. Coming from a nurse who has seen many young people in our community become very ill with COVID, I think we should extend it a little bit longer. Another one is, kind of struck me pretty, if you really think about it, and it is, my feeling based on looking into the COVID thing is that it is real, but has 99% survival rate, those under 70, and about 95% for those over 70, depending on underlying conditions. This crisis is no longer about public health, but about controlling people's lives. Research reveals that the smallest pores in mass is 30 times larger than the COVID virus and will not stop the virus. Leaders at all levels have been willing to destroy an entire economy over a virus. With more than 90+% of people wearing masks, the virus has not been contained to date. And we'll simply blame the 10% or so of us who very seldom wear or refuse to wear a mask on one of these causes. I'll skip that part. If local governments want to simply recommend one, that is okay with me, as long as each person has the liberty and freedom to choose to wear or not to wear a mask. I won't condone anyone for wearing one that gives me the sense of security. If I contact the virus by whatever name, then so be it. And let's see. My opinion is to extend the mandate. Are they 100% effective? Probably not, but they certainly don't hurt anyone, and it keeps someone from getting critically ill. I will happily wear one for another year. I am concerned that if you lift the mandate, people will take it as a sign that they don't have to be careful any longer. As a business owner, I feel boundaries are being overstepped. I choose to be a business owner to be able to run it the way I see best fit. And that includes wearing a mask only during active care. When I did wear a mask in the beginning of the mandate and tried having conversations more times than not, I ended up pulling it down so they can better hear me or using my own mouth as an example. Another point to bring up to council is the vaccine now available. It had already been given to our medical providers. Next is our high-risk population. Isn't that who all pro-maskers are so worried about? They are vaccinated, so why is mask still necessary? As our numbers really decreased since mask mandate came into effect? Highly doubtful. We had all the signs and symptoms and decided not to feed to the numbers game being posted by the hospital and health department. Sanitizing and creating more fear is all those posts are doing. I know my team members all did the same, as well as our family of 6 that live next door. The numbers have not gone down. There are just less people getting tested. Not to mention, from a medical perspective, the breathing issues this is creating. That is why people are pulling them down. Below their noses, they cannot breathe. Me, for example. I prefer to remain anonymous on our opinion. This matter would like, if some points get brought up at council. So we have never been pro-mask, and that is coming from someone who works in a medical field every single day, probably the most at risk for contracting in our community. We have accepted there are too many people who lack the ability to self-think and research and are relying on slanted media creating fear, so there will be mask mandate in our country or county, no matter what. My biggest issue, there is no regulation on the type of mask. If we are going to do this, we need to do it correctly. And that's all I'm gonna read for now.
And there are people that opinion, and I've heard that side of it too, and I know, I mean, after we passed the mandate, I had, oh, I got my mic on. I mean, I had people that were furious with me after we passed the mask mandate. But I will say that, I mean, our active cases there for a while were close to 200, and they're down around, what, 50, or around there? Now, some of it is probably mass. Some of it is probably that people started to see people getting deathly ill and they took more precautions. Some of it's probably that it already has burned through a lot of our businesses and our nursing homes and a lot of the vulnerable places it's already been through. But we're headed in the right direction. I would hate to see us. I think that if any, more than anything, if you lift a mask mandate, like I think somebody stated, it sends a signal that it's over and you can kind of go back to normal. And we can't quite yet. We're not quite there. We're getting there. And as more people get vaccinated and more people have had it, we'll reach there and we'll get back, slowly ease back into normal. But we're not quite there yet, in my opinion.
Well, you go to any big city and every business and everybody in that business, whether they're customers or whether they work there, are wearing a mask. And I'm sorry, the CDC says it helps, people say it helps, and you're right. If we don't redo the mask mandate and everybody thinks that it's okay not to wear one, you're gonna have a rise in cases. That's my opinion.
And has everybody been wearing a mask? No. I mean, people have called me, and I've been in places, people walk in and they're not wearing a mask, and we're not gonna tackle them and stick a mask on them. But it has improved a lot. I see a lot more people wearing masks after we put the mandate in place than before that. Walmart especially.
Well, but I've seen people, and sometimes the same person that is not wearing a mask. And when I ask at the door if they let people in without mask, and they said no, so then they're getting in and they're taking them off once they get in.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do about that. I mean, a lot of this is about looking after your neighbor and looking after the most vulnerable out there in our town, city. I mean, that's what a lot of it is looking out for other people. I mean, with what I do, like for instance, I get in a lot of different houses. I might be working in somebody's house that they're in their 20s, and then I might be working in a house where they're both in their 80s. I don't really want to be getting this stuff and dragging it in there and exposing them if there's any way I can help it. And especially if it makes them feel better, I'm definitely going to wear a mask. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have breathing, they can't. But, I mean, I think we should, honestly, in a perfect world, you wouldn't have to have a mask mandate. People would just do it on their own. But that's not what happened.
I know, Mr. Mayor, I talked to Mr. Couch, Superintendent for USD 364 today. He said it doesn't matter what the county does or what the city does, the school district's still gonna stay with the mask enforcement at the school through the school year, so. And with that being said, I move that we renew Ordinance 1894 on the mask mandate. And let's just leave it where it's at, extended to April 1st, 2021. No, let's just go to April 1st. We can reevaluate it then. Yeah, reevaluate it then. We need to go a week before, whatever the meeting is before that. Reevaluate it at that time, so. Huh? Last meeting in March, we'll reevaluate it. I guess that'd be the 22nd council meeting.
Second.
any further discussion? Terry, did you have something?
Yes, I think it would be necessary for our mandate, instead of worrying so much about a timeline on it, that we would make it comply with what the state's doing. I think
Well,
that
but I
is.
think the state kicked it back to the county, so
The,
there's not
well,
any statewide.
okay, so this actually does mirror what the state is doing. The only difference are the fines potentially being levied, which we haven't issued any tickets so far. But that's the difference. Where you go through paragraph by paragraph, this is what the state says.
Well, what I'm getting at is if everybody knows that if, when they're looking at the news, if something's going on, that's the way ours is. Otherwise, everybody's gotta wonder, well, what can you do in Marysville? Well, if it was overall to make it work, it can't work if people don't use it. And it's easier not to worry about whether or not we're gonna have to talk, just like we're doing right now, about every 3 weeks to change something. I think we should allow the state that we should go along with what the state does.
This is, like I said, it does mirror exactly what the state, but this ordinance allows us to enforce it locally.
No, the only thing I'm getting at is that if there's a change, everybody knows because the state changed it. Now it's the case that we gotta sit down and talk about it again because we're gonna change something.
So are you talking about the date? How long we're extending it to?
No, I think.
I don't think it should be any different than the state right now for us to put a timeline on it. I think it should be what's going on in our state of Kansas.
For continuity, I wouldn't, I mean, like I said, currently we are mirroring word for word what the state is doing. If they strengthen it, ours automatically strengthens. We have to go by what the state wants. If they loosen it, so the strengthening doesn't take any action. If they loosen it, ours stays the same. So we don't have to come back and talk about it unless you really want to repeal it. This reduces the confusion if ours stays the same.
If ours then is stronger than what the state is, everybody's gonna point at us and say we're making it worse than they are. If we let them take care of it, it's on them, it's not on us. And we're complying with everything that everybody wants done.
But does the state really have a mask mandate?
Yes, it is. It doesn't have the teeth that ours has with the fines. Like I said, our ordinance allows our officers to enforce it. So for instance, if Walmart has an unruly customer, our officers can issue a ticket. So that allows us. The state one does not.
So my question is, if the city has a mandate and the county has a mandate, so why would we need two mandates? Why can't we just let the county do theirs? And if they do away with theirs, we can always bring it up and have our own then.
The problem is it takes time. I mean, if the county would have today voted to do away with the mask mandate, and if we didn't have one in place, it takes us like last time. I mean, a couple weeks, a lot of times by the time, now it'd be quicker this time because we've got something already written up, but it takes time. The county can do it like that, but we operate under different guidelines. I mean, the only reason why we passed this is so that if they would remove theirs, we still have something in place to fall back on, basically. And I have no idea what the county is or isn't going to do. But this is just something to ensure that we have a mask mandate in place if theirs goes away, if we want one.
To clarify, the counties is the states.
Okay.
They opted into the state's mask mandate.
Well, from my personal experience, having close contact with somebody that had it. Me and my wife never did get it. We tested negative on several tests, and we weren't wearing masks or sanitizing ourselves inside the house or nothing, but we could never get it. I don't know, it's not every case for every person. It's vice versa for some other people, I know that, but one study that I did find is that in order to get it, now this was done by a medical group, you have to be sitting next side by side to somebody that has it for 9 to 14 minutes. You just can't get it by walking past that person. You have to be relatively close to that person that has it.
Yeah, but you could be, the person may have it and not be symptomatic, but you may have somebody come into the room whose immune system isn't as strong, and they may get the full-blown effect. Like they say, most of the little kids, they're not being hospitalized all the time. Yeah, there are some who are getting really sick, but then, like I said, it just affects everybody differently. It's got a base on what it does, but I've had them come in and out of the shop where, one person said, I had it, I didn't know I had it. And then I had another one come in and say, I was in the hospital. And I said, who are you around? He said, I have no idea. He said, we've been following all the guidelines, we've been doing everything. He said, it must have been when we were out shopping, or we must have caught it off like a grocery cart. But I guess the lesson in that is everybody isn't going to get violently ill, and everybody isn't not going to be symptomatic. So there you go. It doesn't have any lines, any guidelines really to follow.
I was told today by somebody who's seeing a doctor at Mayo that 7 days before your first symptom is when you're contagious.
Well, I think sometimes too that I think people just look at the affected cases and not looking at the whole entire box, like, the survival rate of things. And I think that's what we're making our judgment on, it's just half the data. So, I think we should take some of that into a factor too.
I think you can take that into, but my feeling on it is that, look, the statistics don't mean anything as if you lost somebody that you loved. It doesn't matter if it's 1 in 1,000, if it's somebody that you know and you loved and affects you, it's very serious. You don't know. That's the thing. And another thing I've found through this is a lot more people than what I know. I mean, people don't tell you, hey, a lot of times I'm getting cancer treatments or I have an autoimmune disease. I was surprised at how many customers that I have that I found out they were getting treatments or they had some underlying condition that you'd had no idea that they had. And a lot of them are younger, and they, we have to protect those people. So that's my feeling on it. Is there any more discussion or? Okay, roll call.
Mike, oh, sorry, can you read you want me to read the motion back? It's been moved and seconded to approve a new mask mandate through April 1st that mirrors the old mask mandate, so we'll just type it and switch the dates. And that's what you're voting. Yes is yes, you would like the new mandate. No means you do not want the mandate.
We'll revisit it on the 22nd of March.
And we will revisit it on the 22nd of March, that is correct. Okay. The last meeting before the April 1st deadline. Now are you ready to vote?
Yeah, roll call.
Pipia,
Yes.
Fry. Schroller. Hughes. Beichman. Price. Barons.
Yes.
Crom.
Yes.
7-1.
Okay, next up, we have, under notices and hearings, we have a condemnation hearing on 1205 Carolina, the Larnick property.
And this is a notice to set up the
Notice,
hearing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Notice to
we
set the
are,
hearing.
we're not having the hearing today. We are setting up a hearing. What date was that, Cindy? I'm forgetting.
I'll get you that should be the last page of that part, the resolution. And the hearing will
February.
be February 22nd
Yeah.
at 8 o'clock at City Hall. So this is to set up the hearing then, so we can make the proper notifications. I'm sorry. To make the proper notifications to the people that it involves. We send them registered letters so that they know. And the hearing would then be on May 22nd, which is the second council meeting in February.
February 22nd, yeah.
Yeah, not May, February 22nd, yes. Second council meeting in February, I'm sorry, yes.
Cindy, as I was looking through the paperwork on here, I noticed back in, what was it, 17, his property taxes was quite an increase on it. Was that the year we cleaned the property up?
Yes.
And assessed it back?
Yes. Yes, those are when we cleaned the property the year before, and then it takes that long to get it onto the tax roll. So both of those huge jumps were because we cleaned up the property and then assessed it back to his taxes because he did not reimburse us. That is correct.
How many times have we cleaned this one up already?
Twice. I think actually 3 times. Yeah, I think 3.
And Cindy, do you know why it says 8 o'clock instead of 7?
Todd, excuse me, John did that. I don't know why he did that. We can change it to be whatever time you want. If you want it to be 7, we can change it. John wrote it.
I'd probably recommend changing it to 7. And it just keeps, because we don't know if that meeting's gonna be really long or not.
Yeah, sure.
And for it to be a 30-minute meeting and then us wait around for that to happen. I'd probably say 7 o'clock and keep it honest.
That would be easier.
So what's the process here? Is condemning the place, tear it down, and have it on sheriff's sale?
The process is, we are now, if you guys pass the resolution, we are setting the date for the condemnation hearing. We are notifying, the owners of the property, any of the lien holders that there is gonna be a hearing on this and that there is issues with it. And then at the hearing, you guys actually tell, the owners and all interested, what they need to do to get it fixed up. And what time frame, I believe, you need to, they need to get it done within. So, yeah, so that's what the hearing is for. And after that, if they don't comply, then condemnation. So you set a timeline to get it done, or condemnation happens.
I'm sure, didn't we follow this process back in 17, Cindy? And it hasn't got any better. I mean, he just keeps pulling more and more stuff into it. Yeah, we can give him 30 days. If he doesn't do anything, then who takes care of the mess?
We haven't specifically followed the condemnation for this property. It's always been a nuisance. So, yeah, it's just been, hey, clean this up, hey, clean this up, hey, clean this up. And and he'd come to the council and ask for an extension, and he didn't get it. And that was your, council decision. So it's up to you guys to set the timelines for this stuff. Yeah, it's totally up to you how you handle it after the hearing.
Well, I know as many times as we've had him in here and visited with him, I mean, it just,
Now it's looking at the abandoned, because it has been abandoned, no one has lived there for so long. That changed it to condemnation from nuisance.
He has been, I've seen him move things out there. And
I've seen him moving things out of there. You know, I know he hasn't been there since this summer. So I think he's taking what he thinks he can salvage.
It's a give and take, actually. He'll take some stuff out and he'll put some stuff back. We've caught him using a ladder to get up to the attic and stuff things that way. So, I mean, it'd be a long process if he's trying to salvage things out of there, but that's a comment that's kind of out of line at this point.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Do you have a resolution? It'd be 2021-1, first one of the year.
Move to approve resolution 2021-1 for the condemnation proceeding for the property at 1205 Carolina at 7 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 8-0. Next up, we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a question, please.
Yes, Diane?
On the report on page, have all of the rents been paid, off the minus and all those? Because I see on
Yes.
this month, everything's up to date,
Yes, that is correct.
okay?
That's the feedback, sorry.
Because I didn't see on the report that they'd all been paid, so,
They have been.
okay, because Las Cabañas, you have November and December, but I don't see where October was paid.
It was paid in November.
It was? Okay, because I looked back on November and I didn't see where it was paid, but maybe it was. Because on November, you still said that, you still showed that they owed it.
Yeah,
So-
they came in, I thought, like, on the last day or the first day of November, so they came and caught them up. They
Okay,
didn't come and catch it up. So, yeah, I know it's unusual, but everything is caught up.
okay. And then I see that all of our other stuff, our outstanding bills and stuff keep increasing. Are we not making any progress on that stuff?
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are. Sometimes it's how it catches us at the end of the month.
Okay,
The water bills, you know, how far we are, because it was Christmas and all of that, and so how they pay, sometimes it makes a difference in, when we do our shut-offs and because we get our money and then after that.
because from October, November's higher than October and December's higher than November, so,
Yep,
but we are making progress.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're looking at the water collections, that's just what's on accounts receivable, and then we'll send the rest in to the state for set off right away, because this is when we get the most of that, when people get their tax money.
Okay. But each month it seems like they get higher, so that's, on the water and municipal court, they're all going up each month, so,
Well, we didn't have court for a while, and then all of a sudden we had a whole bunch of court. So that's why.
okay. We just need to keep up with it, hopefully. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Next up, we have appropriations ordinance number 3739.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 3739 in the amount of $91,642.17.
Any further discussion? Yes, Terry?
I think it'd be nice if the public realized we're taking such a good care of everybody as far as getting these things paid for. But I think the public should know, it'd be nice if Austin would find out Cause we're spending about $12,000 a month at least on radios for the police officers. And I don't know where the other ones are going, but we just, all year long, we've been buying radios and antennas and all that. I think the public should know.
And it hasn't been $12,000 a month, but we've got a JAG grant, which paid 100% of the radios that came in recently for the police department. We also used grant money from COVID because they wanted us to increase our technology like radios to pay for an additional car radio and a handheld for City Hall. So
I understand that. I also understand it's just money coming out of another pocket of ours, just because it's grant money. And the public knows this. It's just, they say it's grant money, so we're gonna spend it just because they want it. I think the public should know.
we actually did file you guys did approve the JAG grant a month or so ago. So we did talk about that.
I think there's gonna be another price tag on it to get it all put into effect. There's gonna be probably another $1,000 gonna get spent on these radios.
It's 100% paid for. We got the radios. They're done. Yeah.
All right, then the public just paid for it out of a different pocket, you know. All right, that's all I have to say.
Well, I know this is probably not the right thing to say, but if we don't spend it, it's out for any other municipality in the area to get it. It's not money that they're gonna take back. It's money that they have out there for the different municipalities. And why they do it, I appreciate it. It's not like they're taking from us or increasing because of us. They're making this so we can function better and not having to take it out of not completely out of our pockets. It comes out of the state coffers.
You pay state taxes? You already good.
I pay taxes. I pay
Well,
taxes.
then you're paying for it.
I know, and that's fine. I'm fine with it.
Public should know that too.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm gonna chime in. Do you have a clue how much a radio costs? Do you work any type of situations where you depend on them? Nope, you don't. Be happy that somebody else paid for them.
I'm retired, Mr. Price. I don't work. I used to.
So, I work. I also served on that fire department 24 years. I've cleaned up messes over a mile long.
I'm proud of you.
I don't want you to be proud of me, but I don't want you to crap on me either because I can't talk to the other equipment. I think it's ridiculous the way that you act.
Shout him out.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. That's enough discussion. Roll call.
Pipia?
Yes.
Mike? All right. Pipia?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Beichman? Price?
Yep.
Behrens?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
8-0.
All right, next up, we have staff reports.
All right, first on my list, Parks Cemetery mower. First off, we wanted to present some information. I did make a comment last time we talked about a mower, about how we were having to spend money on our grasshoppers. That's why we're kind of shying away from them. So Cindy was nice enough to compile a list of expenditures that we've spent on the grasshoppers. I mean, it's quite a bit of money, and it's not like we're spending this money on some of the other mowers we have. Yes, some of it is maintenance, but others of it just seems kind of out of the ordinary for us, at least looking back at other mowers that we've spent money on. So I wanted you guys to have that as an example, going forward. But included are 4 bids, for a new 60-inch zero-turn mower, which we have budgeted $16,000 for this year. The bids are from Can-Equip, which is Bobcat, Blue Valley Trailers, which is Hustler, Landmark, which is John Deere, and Schuster Outdoor, which is Exmark. Lowest bidder was Blue Valley Trailers for their Hustler 60-inch for $9,949 for the lowest bidder. And this kind of keeps with the trend that, we bought a Hustler last month, if you guys approve, and we'd buy a Hustler this one, and that gets our inventory going towards having similar mowers, to have similar parts and stuff like that.
We purchased a mower last month, we're gonna purchase a mower maybe this month. What have we gotten rid of, what are we going to get rid of?
We are getting rid of,
The reason I'm saying this, I know we had problems with those Dixons and their 89s. I don't want us to put them in the back corner and they sit there. If we're buying new equipment, let's get something to get rid of the old equipment.
we're getting rid of two mowers. As we get one in, we're getting rid of one. Let's see. Yeah, the whole reason we bought the one last month was because we were having issues with our current ones, and we're not gonna keep it around, that's for sure.
Do we keep extra parts on hand for these mowers, common wear items?
Typically, blades and stuff like that, we try to keep on hand. The common ones, they do a pretty good job. Maintaining them, they keep them up, and some of the odder things come out.
I wondered, bearings, pulleys, things like that. So two reasons I ask. One is, I suppose having 2 of similar mowers would help minimize that. We could maybe even keep more on hand to have more coverage. But also, do we have a lot of leftover parts with these mowers we're getting rid of? Or have we thinned that down pretty well, knowing that we weren't going to replace them?
That, I'd have to look back at our inventory of stuff, but typically Dale was pretty frugal, with his department. He kept on hand what he needed and what he knew he was gonna need, and for the years of service he was in, he did it pretty well.
I was just wondering, because, you could see it being a lot of parts possibly being on hand with all these repairs we end up having to do, so.
Those are on the mowers.
Yeah.
Those are on the mowers, those aren't on.
None of that surplus, none of those are an extra, gotcha.
No, but like I said, they tried to minimize wait time on these things, so
Sure.
How many hours do you think they put on in a year? I'm just kind of trying to get in my mind on the warranty, which one has a better warranty?
They're probably mowing 30 hours a week on an average, all summer long, so.
What was it? The Hustler had an unlimited hour, 2-year warranty, I believe. So the hours wouldn't matter at that point in time. I wish we would have looked at that. I apologize. We don't have that number. But like I said, the Hustler does have an unlimited hour warranty on it for 2 years.
So would a 3-year or 2,000 hour warranty be better than a 2-year and no hour warranty?
I think the limit on hours at this point, let's see.
Rough estimation, Keith says they're probably putting 1,000 hours on a mowing season.
Right. So, and we use some of these mowers during the winter too, so it's more than you would think. We push snow. Some of them have blades on them. So we push snow, we get those around, pick up leaves, anything you can think of with these mowers, as long as they have an attachment for them, we use them year round. So they do pile on a lot of hours.
Austin, are any of the mowers that we're buying, are they replacing any of them that are doing snow removal work or leaf picking up?
No.
Okay. Is there a reason we're not buying the bagging attachments for these mowers so we could use them as extras for picking up leaves in case one goes down?
I asked the department head to design it as they see fit to fit their structure. So I trust that they picked everything, and I told them not to hold back. They picked everything they needed, including the power and all that stuff, for this specific, and they picked a 60-inch for a specific job. For this mower, they felt this was what they needed. I mean, we could go and get attachments if you want us to, but this is what the department head said they needed.
I just don't like buying attachments later on when you can get package deals.
Typically, they don't offer us a package deal. It's all, the price for the attachments are, they give us a government discount, and that's what it is. So maybe you'd save on freight. I'm not saying that's the case, because usually they just tack everything together, and it's the same price anyways. So I don't see any, there's no actual benefit to piling it all together.
So if we order attachments later, do we get a government discount on them?
Yeah, they usually give us the same discount they'd get.
Now, there's a trade on a Dixon, right? Or is there no trade?
There's no trade. We'd probably purple wave these to get a, either they're a parts mower or they're just sold as is. No trade on these.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we table this for 2 weeks. We can discuss with department heads and look at these mowers a little closer.
Okay, all right. Is there any further discussion? Okay. The motion is to table it for 2 weeks, till the next meeting, so we can discuss it with our supervisor. Do you want to have Dawn
I want
or
the
somebody
committee,
show
the
up
Cemetery
next?
and Parks Committee to look at it.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? And Keith, are you going to recuse yourself? Are you going to recuse yourself? Are you going to recuse yourself? No, because it's one of the mowers that we have a bid for is from a company that he works for. I'm just saying, in the past, we've had council members that were associated with a business that we had bids, that they usually recuse themselves. I mean, just for ethical and just appearance reasons. I think it would be best if you recuse yourself from a vote on something that has a bid from your employer. Any further discussion?
Yeah. On these bids you got, Austin, are they for a certain length of time?
They typically give a 30-day, depending on the.
When did you get those? The 11th?
Yeah, the second, for Bobcat, November for Blue Valley, which they I think they just repeated their one bid. That's the same bid, from last time. And so that's not of consequence. Yeah, Schuster's was this month. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
we had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, you,
Either way, 5-3 or 5-2,
yeah,
or, yeah. So,
okay.
passes.
All right, so we'll line up a committee meeting and go from there. All right, next up.
Next up is a park cemetery vehicle. This is, we also have budgeted $40,000, half to come from general, half to come from municipal equipment reserve. Got bids from Nordis and bids from Honeyman. The low bid came in at $28,960 for a 2500 HD Silverado without a bed on it. We would anticipate putting a flatbed on it, and last year it cost us around $3,000. They raised the price between 2019 and 2020 by $45, so I would probably anticipate something like that to happen again. But that's, if you approve this, we'd go out also and order a bed from Bradford. It's exactly like the bed we got this last year.
So what kind of time frame are we looking at to get the vehicle?
Typically around 6 months. That's in a normal year. Even last year, it was, 6 months was about, it was probably a little bit longer last year, but I'm hoping they got the factories going a little bit better this year. But 6 months is what I anticipate.
And what are we replacing?
We are replacing a GMC, and I have that open. The 1997 GMC half-ton 4x4, number 544. It was in need of replacing last year, but also the S10 that we had just replaced also needed replacing. So it was a toss-up which one we sent out last year.
What kind of warranty are they going to offer for the vehicle?
These, we get their standard warranty, or whatever comes with the vehicle. I'm not quite sure. It's not the 5-year, 100,000 miles that the police vehicles are getting, but it's something I haven't worried about the warranty on the parks vehicles thus far, or any of the regular vehicles outside the police. It's not, we don't get the extended warranty.
No, I just wonder what, if they offer this, because we're a municipality, if they stick with the same warranty.
It's probably the same warranty you get off the
Okay.
street. Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, so why are we getting a 3/4 ton, or Austin, why are we getting a 3/4 ton then instead of a half ton again?
Because in the departments, like water, sewer, streets, parks, they all lift a heavier load. It just, the half tons are typically the ones that are passed down from the police department. They're not made for everyday duty on the parks. They were made specifically for duty, for the police department, for driving around, not towing anything, not having a heavy load of rock in the back, or just heavier equipment on the back. The 3/4 ton really helps us. It's a work vehicle. I mean, it's what it's being designed for, is to work in the parks department. So that's the reason going for the 3/4 ton.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
So what, was there any bids or thought of about a half ton instead of 3/4?
No, because it would, we need a heavy duty work vehicle. We need the 3/4 ton for the parks department. For the work that they do, that's what we wanted for the department.
This comes without the box, correct? It'll just come the chassis?
Yeah, it'll be, yeah, take the bed off of it, so it's ready to go, right down the road to Bradford.
So it's a bed delete, not a cabin chassis?
Correct. Correct, bed delete for the 2500. Which is what, we basically did that last year, but Ford doesn't offer the box delete. 2 years ago, Ford said they'd take $50 off for a box delete, which didn't make any sense, so if we ever got a Ford, we took it off and basically made $1,000 off the bed. This one, they actually took off $1,250 or something like that of the truck price. And just so we're talking, I mean, it's, police. Yeah, the Nordis actually took basically $10,000 off MSRP for our discount. So a normal, you walk in off the street and go, I want to build this truck right here, would be $38,955. They are their price for us is $28,960.
Move to approve, low bid, Nordis Motors, $28,960 for 2500 HD Silverado. Also, to go ahead and contact Bradford Built Trailers and have them working on a flatbed for that specific truck.
Second?
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have further discussion.
Yeah.
Why does Nordis Motor Company say $28,960 and the Ford says $28,818? $28,960 is not lower.
2818.
They both say parked vehicle on your packet.
Oh, shoot. Parks vehicle. 28.
Oops.
28. Okay. No, it's not. I apologize. I went through all these, and that's completely on me. So the low bid would be Honeyman, because that threw me through a loop. Thank you for catching that. Yes, the low would be Honeyman, 28,818. I looked at I must have been looking at the other vehicles where Nordis was the lowest bid. And I completely missed that. I apologize.
I missed that, Parker. I was looking at it under the police vehicles. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Parker. Do you amend your?
Mr. Mayor, I amend my motion for the truck purchase of the 2021 HD Silverado from Nordis to go to a 2021 Ford F-250. Let me get the page here again. For 2021 Ford F-250 regular cab XL 4x4 for the price of $28,818. Also in the bid, I'd like to include flatbed.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
6-2?
Aye.
No. 3, 6-3.
6-3.
Or 5-3,
5-3.
sorry. Can't be 6-3. I'm adding people. Sorry.
But don't don't we have to take the bed off the Ford then?
Yeah, we'll take the bed off the Ford, but it'll basically, and we'll make we'll purple wave the truck bed, yes. Our guys take the bed off.
Yeah, but that's gonna end up costing us more money, cause it's gonna,
Well, we'll make money on the bed, selling the bed, correct?
Yeah, it'll take time, yes, it'll cost us time to get it off, but they typically go really fast on it. All right, again, I apologize, next item up is police vehicles. We actually delayed, police vehicles from last year to this year. So these vehicles would typically, we'd already be switching them out. Included our bids for a new police vehicle that is budgeted $40,000 for in 2021. We received 2 bids for half-ton pickups and 1 for an Explorer. The vehicle that is being replaced is number 1002, a 2015 Ford Explorer. In the police department, there's not a consensus on whether to go with an SUV or go back to a pickup. We have found the Ford vehicles have been lasting better in the police department. So there was a preference to go back to Ford within the department, so we're presenting all 3 options to you for you guys to discuss and make a decision.
I feel like the holding up better is a little biased by the Chevy that ran over the sign and then had problems thereafter. That was a problem, but that's kind of a problem of our own creation. I don't know that I'd lay that at the feet of General Motors. Other than that, have there been significantly more billing against the Chevys?
I mean, there were a couple issues with some of our Chevys. Just, I didn't have the list of that. But that, that was just if you guys decide to go with the Chevy, then we'll go with the Chevy. But we were just leaning on a preference right there.
Austin, when this truck comes due again, are we going to move it down to our city fleet?
That is a decision we usually make at that point in time.
So why would we do half tons? Why wouldn't we do 3/4 tons so it could be usable later on?
The 3/4 tons don't get around as well as a police vehicle. These are specifically created, and this comes back to my point earlier, where we get a new vehicle designed for the department that it's going in, so it best suits them. So the passing of the police vehicle to a department, yes, it doesn't suit them as well, but it looks like a convenience to go from police department to parks or police to water, sewer, or whatever. The F-150s, the 1500s, they get around much easier for the police department to do their job.
Yeah, and I talked to Todd, Terry.
What are we gonna do with the old one?
This one we'd either trade in or we purple wave it.
Yeah, are we what?
Purple wave, put it up for auction. Put it up for auction. I shouldn't say purple wave. We put it on an online auction where we would actually get a decent price.
Could that be a good time for that other truck you want to buy to take its place?
What the SUV? It's an SUV that we're getting rid of. It's not a pickup. It's an SUV.
I understand. But couldn't our building inspector drive it?
He also does maintenance, so he needs stuff to carry: drywall, wood, ladders, and the SUV wouldn't work for him.
Also, wasn't there some issues with those Explorers?
Yes, it's a 2015. It's been on the road for 5 years now. It's experienced some issues. Some of the guys really like the SUVs. The other guys really like the trucks. I mean, I don't have any specific complaints about the SUV right now.
Yeah, and I talked to Todd today, and about half the police officers like trucks, and the other half like SUVs. This is one of the SUVs, so they'll only have one SUV, and then the Expedition that Todd drives. So that's something else to take, I guess, into consideration too, is if you'd want to buy an SUV, and then they can sort out amongst themselves, depending on their preference, who wants to drive it, I guess. So. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion, we get the 2021 Chevy 1500 for $35,718.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 8-0.
All right, next item up is building inspector vehicle. This one was more of a necessity than anything else. We would like to, if we had a police truck available, we would like to, I mean, that would have been so easy to move it over. Or, I mean, it would have looked easier to move it over, but that's not available. The next, like I said, we got a SUV going out this year and an SUV going out next year, so it wasn't easily accessible to a next truck. He does use his vehicle every day to get around, whether inspecting properties, going to maintenance issues, going out taking pictures, nuisance, and all that stuff. So it's one of those things, and especially with when we come to hire a seasonal code enforcer who definitely needs a vehicle to get around, we need this vehicle to keep us going. With that being said, included are 2 bids for replacement of building inspector vehicle, and like I said, the engine went bad. I also included a used truck that I found that would be suitable replacement if we were to go. The new trucks are from Honeyman and Nordis and used from Carriage Motors. I chose that 2017 because it had low miles and it had a decent body style that we could work with. I did talk to some of the dealers about searching around. Basically, the answer was, I got one thing that wasn't going to work for us. It had really high miles, and they would search, and I haven't heard anything back from them. Let's see. Price for that used vehicle was $34,889. The positive behind the used vehicle is we'd have one, we'd go buy it and be here. So I mean that's where that's at. The low bid, I'm sure this one now came in for the new vehicles at Nordis Motors, $28,044. The con to this is that Nordis, or the Chevy, didn't come with an 8-foot bed like I wanted, but I wanted an option from Nordis, and obviously there's a decent difference in the price between the Ford and the Chevy to $28,044, and then the Ford came in at where's my Ford? 31.3. So it was slightly higher to go with the Ford. The con to a brand new vehicle, ordering it, it takes 6 months to get in. We'd make an arrangement to either for the building inspector to either use his own vehicle to get around, which he's already volunteered that. It wouldn't be volunteer, we'd have to make a financial arrangement with him. But to get us to the 6 months. There were some, as far as the used market, there were some other options I saw. But for instance, they had out at Honeyman, they had a long bed Ford F-150 that would have worked perfectly. It just had 100,000+ miles on it, and probably wouldn't last us as long as we wanted it to. Chevy had not a similar setup. They had a red pickup that would have worked. It had 50,000 miles on it, but it didn't have the long bed. It had an extended cab, which I was kind of looking for, but it just wasn't matching up. I was trying to present as many options out there as possible that would work for a vehicle for a longer period of time than just a couple of years. And taking a chance on a used is not something I take lightly, but it is. I want an operating vehicle for the building inspector to use. So it's a challenge in the used market, but I hope but I wanted to present what I have for you right now.
Austin, they can't do a search. When we got our car from them, they did a search and they found one and traded one with another dealer. They can't do anything like that for you and find them sooner?
They did say they would do that, but they have not contacted me again. They said they would search it out, and one of the first things they offered me was a truck with 120,000 miles on it, and they were trading another dealer for it, but with that high of miles, I was shying away from that, and I said, we're looking for something along the lines of an 8-foot bed to fit all the toolboxes and a rack if necessary, and so we can carry around lumber and stuff like that. And they said they would look for it and get back in contact with me. And so far, that was a week or so ago. So far, they have not contacted me again.
The problem is with COVID, and it takes so long to get new vehicles, other dealers don't want to let it go of them.
I know, but they did when we got ours, and it took a while. You just have to be a little patient, but it didn't take that long, so,
Like I said, I was hoping they would find something, but I wanted them to search like you said, and I asked them for that, and they said they would work on it, and I wish they would have come back.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I do want to add something. I was discussing, there was a different option that would be a different, I want to lay that out there. One option would be we could order, for instance, something similar to what the Parks Department has. Yes, it's a bigger truck, but the option would be to put a service bed on there. And I bring this up because there was a discussion item. I was discussing with the mayor, and he knows full and well what a service body means and how helpful it is. Now, Will he'd be amenable to it, but he wasn't really pushing for it. So, it's an option. I want you guys to hear it. If you were to think about something like that or want to try something like that, it would be the price, basically ordering what the Parks Department has and adding $15,000 onto it, basically. 10 to 15 is what a service body would be. We're not pushing for anything like that, but we want you to know we were looking at those options as well.
I mean, that's what I do for a living every day, and I for sure like my service truck. But I know how carpenters are attached to their pickups. So if he thinks that can work for him, fine, then that's fine with me.
So, yeah, we can make a pickup work, definitely, put a rack on it, if that is what he wants. And I mean, those are, for comparing it to any of our other vehicles, is probably one of the lower cost upgrading vehicles that we have, that we're gonna have. And this gives us the ability, if we order new, to design a truck that will last us 15 to 20 years. I mean, he'll use it a lot, but it won't be as heavily beat up as some of our other departments. So we're hoping it lasts longer than the 8 years that the current vehicle has, as the current vehicle went through the police department first, and did its tour there. So if you agree to a brand new vehicle right now, it's a vehicle for the next 15 to 20 years.
Okay, somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to spend $28,044 at Nordis for, the inspector's pickup. Is that correct?
Correct.
Second.
Okay. That's a new Chevy. No, the new one was,
The used one was $34,889, whereas the new one is $28,044.
okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-2.
I didn't get the nay.
Terry and Keith.
Okay. I just gotta get names because I can't see lips. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is financials, and I wanted to give a little rundown of how we ended the year. For the end of 2020, the general fund ending balance was $816,080. That was an increase of $213,959 from the end of 2019. And it was also an increase of $108,798 from what was budgeted to carry over in 2021. This should, among other things, help us with our fire department as far as the amount we pay off or have to finance, or however we allocate these funds. But I see it as an alleviation of debt. So it should be helpful. Not all $100,000, but some of that. The water fund also saw an increase of $23,000 with an ending balance of $711,102. This is $6,195 more than the budgeted carryover. So I call that a wash. We're right on where we budgeted. Sewer fund saw a decline in its ending balance compared to the end of 2019. Ending balance of $206,192, which is $123,000 less, and $28,138 lower than budgeted carryover. We put a lot of money towards lining the sewers. We've been dedicated to some of the larger projects so we can get the sewer lining done. So I don't see this as a huge negative, although we will be looking at how to balance this out, maybe shifting some expenditures around, things that we can take out of the water fund we can take it out of the water fund instead of the sewer fund, building that back up in anticipation of trying to keep, the sewer fund afloat, which is a bad way of putting it because it sounds negative, but bringing the sewer fund back up while we're trying to upgrade our lagoons at the same time. So I think we can get it back with some shifting of some funds around, maybe some shifting of employees from one salary from one place to the other. It's all about bolstering up sewer, especially if water has just a little bit more to help it out. And I don't see it at the sewer fund as in too much trouble, but we can alleviate some of this out. The sales tax fund saw an increase of $300,451 compared to the end of 2019. The ending balance was also $143,873 over the estimated 2021 carryover. This will allow us to do street projects a little bit more comfortably, which I'll follow this with a little bit of that. But we allowed the sales tax to get back to a really healthy level that we can spend money on replacing a street and maybe another street as well. So the sales tax looks pretty good right now. Any questions on financials? If none, I do have a couple of items that I did email out to you earlier, and I wanted you guys to get a heads up about it, but I put them on your desk as well. First is just a bid request. I wanted to get the 12th Street project that was in our plans out to bid as soon as possible because I have a shortened time frame because it's right next to high school, junior high. I wanted them out of there in time for school to start. So I put August 14th as the latest date they can be there. So they can get in, get out, and get it taken care of. As you can see, I mean, my lines aren't great. They're not popping out as much as I thought, but on the map that I provided, in red is the main project. It goes up until right after the sidewalk on Spring Street, right next to 13th Street, and goes up to the north, almost to the Brick Street, where the Brick Street stops at the north side of 12th Street. Also included is an alternative to consider for the parking spaces at the high school. We put that in as an alternative so we could present it to the school district once it's bid, and they can decide whether they want to spend the money on it or not. If they don't want to spend their money on it, then we don't do that part of the project. But I felt it fair to give them the opportunity while we're there to get the most likely lower cost, since the contractor's already there, to benefit from that lower cost of the project already happening. I did put two options in there, one for concrete, one for asphalt. For all our concrete streets, we've been going 8 inches. For asphalt, we don't typically go 8 inches, so 6 inches of asphalt. The parking alternative is concrete only, so it would be 8 inches and 6 inches, 8 inches of concrete, or 8 inches base AB3 and 6 inches of concrete. This is the same setup we used for our street project on Broadway, as far as bidding specs. The 8 inches of concrete versus 6 inches of asphalt. We asked, and I'll include this in there, for a higher grade asphalt than they do on commercial, because that's what the asphalt company has recommended, is we go at least one step up from commercial product, because they don't recommend, it just lasts a little bit longer as far as the oil life in it. So I will amend that if I don't already have that in there.
Austin, will this take care of the drainage problem we have there on the corner of 12th and Spring where the water drags?
12th and Spring.
Right there in the corner by the houses. Water always sets, there's a low spot there.
It should take care of the low spot. Yes. If there's a low spot there, they should.
That wasn't the question. Can we design it so it takes care of the flow problem?
Yes.
I don't want it to see it. I hate to pour a brand new street and then we got a spot that holds water that's 5 foot by 8 foot.
Yes.
Like it does now. I
yeah,
want it designed so the water flows out of there and there's nothing there.
Yes, low spot. Okay. All right, are there any more questions on the street replacement project?
Okay, is it? All right, next up, standing committee reports.
No, I need you to approve going out to bid.
Oh. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
And then, one more thing, I did also put out there, CES, when designing the 11th Road, project, they are recommending that we do, some geotech, possibly to find some of the issues where the water is coming from, also to find out what the base is made up of. This is so they can make a recommendation on what type of surface they're gonna put on 11th Road. So this would help them with the design of the project. Right now, we're already paying them $20-some thousand. I don't have that exact number, but we already have them on the hook designing this, paying them for that. So this would be an additional for the geotech is $6,050. And the listed optional traffic control and cement base testing. So that, I mean, I think they need traffic control while they're doing the geotech and testing of the base. So this was their recommendation on how to design this.
Haven't they done some of these studies already?
I doubt they've cored it, because they'll go in and core out the road and find out what's there. I don't think they've done any of that. They've probably done designs, they've done the survey of the area. I doubt they've dug down and figured out what's underneath. Not like this anyways.
I mean, we spent tons of money out there on studies on the 11th and 12th of Road already.
Right.
We keep throwing money out there, we might as well see what's underneath.
Right.
And why we're having the problems.
So if you were to approve, let's say, all of this, $8,900.
Can we have a list of all the stuff we've done out there and all the money we've spent sometimes so we know over the years what we've done
Yeah, we can get that.
before we decide what
Yeah.
we're gonna do?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Because I know we've spent, the last time they spent, they actually took $3,000 or something like that off the bid they gave previously, because they had done work that related to this project. So they took some money off their previous bid to make up for that. But yes, we can look into the history and find out what we've done.
I do know for a fact, as long as I've been on the council, none of that has ever been core sampled though.
Right.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
I think we need to table before we make any motions to know what we've done, what they've done previously, so we know what else we wanna do for sure.
I would be curious what we've spent on it, but at the same time, I'm not sure what that matters. I mean, the road's bad, it doesn't matter how much money has been spent on it over the years, it needs done. I think it's gonna change.
If we're gonna improve it, we have to do that.
Yeah,
Or if we do this.
yeah.
The problem is there's so many springs that run down through there that there needs to be core samples so we can find out what kind of subbase we need under it.
Exactly. I make a motion that we approve the $8,900 for the core samples.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
6-2.
All right. And that is all I had for my report.
Okay, next up, standing committee reports. Does anybody have anything on street?
City did a good job of alley or driveway.
It's nice. I've been through there a couple times. My trailer doesn't drag anymore. Anything else on street? Water, wastewater?
Yeah, Austin, can we get a list of how many water meter pits that are not installed and how far behind they are in the years?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
And another thing, because you mentioned earlier, where are we at? When are we going to get an update on where we're at with the lagoons?
Update on what?
The lagoons, the sewer project.
There's not a time frame on that. We're currently, BG is trying to discuss with KDHE the merits of making that area that we discussed previously on the east side of the river a wetlands. There is discussion on whether that they would allow us to do that or not, and so that is where we're stalled out right now in the design phase, is their approval on whether we can make those wetlands or not. It's not that they've told us no definitively, it's that they're considering it.
When was the last time we had anybody had any discussion with them about it?
They were talking about it, last I talked in December with, they were talking with them before the holiday break.
Okay.
They didn't have any idea when KDHE'd have any kind of an answer for us.
No, KDHE likes to evaluate all options.
I know. They've also got us on deadline too, though, so. Right, that's all I had on that. Anybody else have anything on water, wastewater? Parks and Rec?
I have a
the Parks and Rec kind of got fed back through some people to me that somebody had expressed interest in, putting a memorial bench in the park. And I know this is something and the way I explained it to this person was that there's a little bit of bench fatigue. Sorry, forgot about the mic. It got fed back to me kind of through the community that there was somebody interested in possibly putting a memorial bench in the park, and that they were told that we really aren't doing that at this time, which I understand because, I mean, we kind of have, for lack of a better term, bench fatigue. There's a lot of benches and there's only so much space and how many benches can you put in, sort of thing. All that said, the individual felt like they were not as kindly treated as maybe they felt like they should be in the situation. I don't know anything about that. Obviously, I wasn't there. But what I do think is, I know this is probably going to be an ongoing thing that people are interested in doing. I feel like we should have some sort of, not necessarily a bench plan, but some sort of procedure where people can formally ask to do a memorial of this kind or another, a formal way for them to apply for that perhaps, or have it go to the Parks and Rec community, if not through the council, then to the city administrator or something. Like I said, I think people are going to keep asking about it, and rather than blindly having them come ask Austin, maybe it would be something we could have a more formalized approach to. Does that seem appropriate, Austin?
That is appropriate. I have had, I'm not sure who you're talking about, but the last person that did talk to me about a bench around the pool, and I said, that's not an option at this point in time, but we're open to other things. We're open to ideas. Because right now we don't have any ideas of what different instead of a bench, what else can we do? Because I want memorials. I mean, it's a great thing to see your loved ones being memorialized. I know people like seeing that in their parks that they visit. I'm definitely open to ideas on how to move forward with stuff like that. I just hope that they didn't. I'm not sure. Yeah. That's where I'm at with the memorials, is what type of memorials can we move forward with? I like ideas, so yeah.
Right, and I do too. I think it's good. It builds community. It can also serve important needs and do all sorts of good things. But rather than you having no direction and just having to go by the seat of your pants, can we look at creating some? I mean, can you reach out to other cities? Be like, I mean, we can't be the only ones with people coming and wanting to do memorials and things, and see if they have a format or a procedure that they go through, just so that people feel like they're being respected and treated fairly. And I feel like we can do better in handling that.
I know it's not the city park, and I know everybody wants their stuff in the city park, but Dargett's Park and Lions Park could use some benches up there, though.
You're not wrong, yeah.
You know, in the days of old, people used to have benches, and this may sound like ghoulish to the modern person, but have benches at the cemeteries. Because I see a lot of these older people going up and, just having to stand, I'm not talking like 60, 70, I'm talking like 80, 90-year-old people. And I'm just saying that they should, I didn't say we're going to have to put a bench at every section, but I think, to have some place there under a tree, and then like you were saying, Dargett's Park's a great place to put some benches and all that tree cover there. That'd be great. So, yeah, yeah.
If you do run across some people that want to memorialize, I would ask or put that out there that don't go by, because that's how the process goes. The person goes and buys the bench, and then it gets put in. I've had people go, I got a bench ready, where can I put this? And that's where some confusion comes into play. Cart before the horse, if you will. We'd like to have a plan for this. Yes, always open to ideas. If we got a different I've been trying to think of, because a certain individual wanted to be around the pool, and it's because of a certain reason, and I'm completely fine with that. I was trying to think outside the box. How much does it cost to cut a piece of concrete out around and put a little plaque in? Is that the safest thing to do? What's in that concrete? These are the things I'm trying to go through to get these things done. Do we hang it on the fence? Is that permanent enough? Thoughts just out there. I try not to turn people away, but it's a challenge to find new ideas and
I will
more
say, we
permanent.
had a family donate to build a memorial, to do a kiosk memorial at the city cemetery. So if there are more people that would like to donate to that, that is a large project. And they were, you could put benches by it. I mean, so we did have a family who made a nice donation for that. And that is something that we really do need to get completed. And that's a big project. That's not a small project. Just an idea for a different thing besides just the bench.
I know up at like Legion Ballpark and stuff, the old wooden bleachers that are there, if somebody wanted to donate money to go towards aluminum bleachers up there would be a nice thought too. Keep a little plaque on the back of them, donated by so-and-so's family.
That's a good idea.
Okay, anything else on Parks and Rec? Cemetery and Airport? Okay, go ahead, yeah.
I think also, if you wanna put this on the list, I think we get down the line, I think we ought to think about maybe having a city-owned hangar at the airport in case somebody does come in and visit and have to visit for a week. They got a place to put their $600,000 airplane inside somewhere.
Yeah, and the airport committee, you wanna add anything, Todd?
No, the airport committee just kind of briefly met up there. We had a little discussion about the hangars, including one that, until that meeting I was aware, I thought was gonna be torn down. Apparently that hangar has changed hands and is going to be refurbished, which is all the better because if there's nothing there, then we can't get anything off that. It can't be used for the airport. It was discussed a little bit what we can do as far as pushing the timeline to doing repairs so that pieces of it aren't getting blown across the airfield, since some of the tin and things are loose on it. Terry brought up, without discussing with our attorney, I'm not really sure where our limits are as far as what we can require, how quickly, and I asked, when the building changes hands, how that looks on the lease side, whether that means we have to kick off a new lease or whether they actually inherit the new lease, if they have to sign off on it, if the former owner's on the hook through the lease period. I'd be interested to know where the liability or where that lies on the lease. So, I don't know if you can speak to that, Cindy. I know you're not an attorney, but.
I know I'm not an attorney, and I would never dream to be one. What normally happens in that case, if a hangar changes hands, they give us the bill of sale that says that it's been sold. And then I think actually the lease itself says that whoever owns it then takes on, so every year, we don't immediately bill, we bill, once a year for the rent, so, because the hangar, of course, will stay the same size, and we bill on square footage, so then the next year, when we bill, it goes to the next person who owns that, so the liability transfers to whoever the bill of sale went to there. We've only had a couple change hands, and they, like I said, they'll give us a bill of sale so we know who owns them.
Has that all taken place, or you're just aware of it? So it's already changed hands?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I got the phone call, who owns it, do you know what they're gonna do with it, told them who owned it, they said they were gonna talk to him. 3 days later, I had a bill of sale in hand.
So does the new, so have you spoken to the new owner at all? You have? Are they aware that there's some pretty imminent repairs needing done?
Yep, that person also has a hangar up there with a plane in it.
Okay, great.
So they are familiar with what we do.
Okay.
Or, how fast they have to get it done, that's the kicker.
Did they have any concerns with the taxiway that leads to that? Not that they've addressed at this time? Okay.
Not at this time, and believe me, they will tell us.
I believe that's true. Yes. So we discussed that, we kind of looked at the general repair of the hangars, I'd say. What am I missing, guys?
I mean, I think the committee's thought the next step was to speak with our attorney and find out what our options are.
Also, I did have somebody approach me in public this weekend asking what the city's perspective was on them possibly building another private hangar at the airport, whether that was something the city would probably be in favor of, and I said I think that probably would be all right. They noticed that there was an empty spot next to the hangar in question where there's a pad. It'd be easy to put another one there. Also that the former access road kind of dead end spot might be another place where a hangar could be built. I kind of leaned like that might be a better idea because it's basically got a taxiway, brand new taxiway all the way to it already. But I don't know, I mean, I can only speak from my perspective, but whether, I mean, the council's generally in favor of new hangars going up, whether we want to direct location of said hangars, whether we're gonna have specific requirements for new hangars going up, or whether, how open and wild we wanna be about that, because I don't think we have any code kind of rules as far as what new hangars look like. Obviously, the only new one that's gone up since I've been here is the Landau hangar, which is more than sufficient.
I do have a map of where the original hangars were or where they had planned them. I still have that map of how that looks. I do not know if it's still okay or we've changed enough stuff up there. I don't know that. I just have the original map of how they were and where they were or where they had planned to put them, whether they are or not. And then I don't know that there was ever any rule about size, or that would have to be a different discussion. I don't think, unless FAA and maybe Austin can talk with Heather Olson about if we have some regulations we can set. I don't know that.
And I think we, at some point in the last X many years, discussed even possibly allowing them to be built east of the front taxiway where the Crosswinds runway currently is, because the FAA would not have a problem with that. We'd already have a ready taxiway there, and there would have to be some prep work because there is a trough between the taxiway and the former Crosswinds runway, so more earthwork would have to take place there, and I think it might be easier to fill the open spots we have, but generally speaking, I assume we would be happy to have somebody approach us about leasing land to build another hangar. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I will just say, at the last committee meeting that we had, it was discussed using some of our FAA money to build hangars. But the committee, since the committee was that they felt that we needed to take that money and spend it towards the parking lot and the road, which we basically spent all that money. So, if we were gonna build hangars, we'd be correct, we'd be funding it ourselves. There's no FAA money there to build a hangar, is there?
That's correct. Right now, it's all dedicated towards the parking lot and that street, the airport road that goes right up to the parking lot. And that was with the idea, we'd use all the funds right now to do that, to build it up, to potentially get on the list to widen our runway.
And the widening was, how many years was it we were gonna build those funds up? I can't remember.
Yeah, we can build them up 4 or 5 years. I think it's 4 years. And it takes some time to get on the list to be approved for discretionary funds for the widening of the runway.
I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I'm just saying it, just realize we're gonna have to find the money somewhere if we would do that.
Although I think Keith mentioned earlier, you know, it'd be nice to have somewhere for planes that come visit to be indoors, which I completely agree. In general, I'd be more in favor, personally, of us incentivizing private hangar construction and not owning hangars. Just because talking to other airport management groups in other cities, I feel like that would be just one more headache for us to deal with, one more bit of water I don't wanna wade into. But if we can encourage people to build new hangars, by all means, that just increases usage, increases the betterment of the airport, so. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Just letting the rest of the council know, there is one hangar up there that doesn't have doors on it. I don't know if you brought that, I couldn't hear you. But half the roof is gone on it, and looks like more of the tin work is gonna blow away. And that's the kind of stuff we don't need debris blowing around by the airport. And I think we need to give a little push to either have the owner tear it down or fix it up.
Yeah, and that's the one that just sold, and that owner is, I mean, my understanding would be he's planning on, I would think, fixing it up. It is not usable in its current state at all, so. So I don't know how long we'll give him, but, I mean, if we don't see any progress out there, then maybe we might wanna give him a call, you know, in 6 months, a year, whatever. But I would think he would be motivated to do something to it fairly soon. Does anybody else have anything on cemetery and airport? Police and fire? Admin and finance? Next up, we have appointments. One for the library board and a couple for convention and tourism.
Move to approve the mayor's appointments.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. City attorney is not here. We do need to go probably into executive session for a little while.
I move the city council recess an executive session to discuss possible acquisition of real estate pursuant to the acquisition of real estate exception, KSA 75-4319B6. This session will include the mayor, city council, and the city administrator. The open meeting will resume back in the council chamber at let's go 9:25.
Okay, that a second? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Call this meeting back into session. No binding decisions were made. Move on to, Austin, if you want to, I guess, talk about that for a little bit, and we'll go to round table then.
All right, I did, get an estimate, which we're still gonna have to go out to bid. But 101 South Fourth, the property we just bought, they estimated about $10,000 to demo, that. He felt it was on the high side, so that's just something, when we go out to bid to actually demo that, that's where we're looking at right now.
And, we discussed one time, are we wanting to try and save the limestone walls in that building? And at one time we talked about
And
that.
if
for
there's
repairs.
limestone in the basement, yes, we'll take it out to
Okay.
the dump and store it, because we'll have a use for it.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I had. Round table? Bobby? Todd?
Are we gonna move back to the horseshoe?
Yeah, I mean, that's up to you guys, if you wanna,
I
if you're comfortable moving back to the horseshoe, I mean, it works better, the chairs are way more comfy.
Why can't the chairs come down here?
Yeah, they could, if we wanted to do
Maybe
that.
they should have been done 4 meetings ago.
I'm okay with moving back up there as long as everybody wears their mask. So,
Do we need a motion or a consensus is enough?
Probably just consensus, I would think.
Now, if we go back up there, does that mean we're opening the meeting back up to the public?
That's the other question.
Yes, we would social distance the chairs and open it back up to the public, yes.
I think as long as we, enforce our mask mandate at those meetings and have social distance chairs, that's appropriate. I know there's people who'd like to come speak to us about things, and I think they should have the opportunity to safely do so.
As long as the public wears their mask also, I think it's good.
Right.
We may have to put something in the paper about, they're gonna have to be sure to, if they wanna attend, they have to have a mask.
We'll post it on the doors. Yeah. Yeah.
That does somewhat good.
Yeah, yes. Lots of people don't read the signs.
Okay, so consensus as council is the next meeting will be up on the U, and then we'll start allowing, people back in, but they have to wear a mask. Right? Right, okay. Well, that's what we're kinda asking. I mean, what are your feelings on it, Terry, as far as going back up on the U?
Got us sitting up there that close. Why can't we bring the chairs down here and keep this like it is till this mandate's over? Those chairs move their own wheels.
Me personally, I'm less concerned about the chairs than I am people being able to weigh in on things firsthand. I'm less worried about the chairs than I am people being able to come and speak to us.
I'm standing up right now because I'm tired.
I'm not saying the chairs aren't uncomfortable, they are.
I think we need to open the meetings up to the public though, so.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Terry?
What's that?
With going back up on the U?
If everybody keeps their mask on,
Okay.
Yep.
you have a trouble keep doing that down here.
Okay.
Do we have to make a motion?
We'll set it up.
We'll
You
set
guys
it.
gave a
Get
good
it going.
consensus. We'll set it back up there.
Okay, anything else, Todd? No. Diane? Terry?
Nothing.
No. Keith? No. Parker?
No.
Colleen?
No.
Kevin?
I had nothing.
don't have anything either. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?